Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a technique that could honestly be the single most important thing you do for your garden. It's a simple change that promises a decade of resilience for what amounts to about 10 minutes of work.
So, let's kick things off with a question that I'm willing to bet every gardener has screamed at the sky at some point. You do everything right. You pick the perfect plant, find that perfect spot, you water it, you feed it, and a few weeks later, it's struggling. Or worse. It's just so frustratingly common, isn't it?
But what if the real problem isn't what's happening weeks down the line? The source for today's explainer, horticultural consultant Graeme Farrer, he argues that the fatal mistake, the one that really seals a plant's fate, happens right at the very beginning. We're talking about the first 10 minutes you spend putting that plant in the ground. So what is this huge mistake? Well, it actually has a name, the bucket hole. And it's all about the shape of the hole that, let's be honest, most of us have been taught to dig our entire lives.
I mean, this is what we all do, right? It just feels logical. You dig a hole that's a perfect snug fit for the plant's pot. But it turns out, especially in heavy soil like the clay we see all over the UK, this seemingly simple act creates an absolute death trap for your plant's roots. And this leads to something called the sump effect. See, when you dig into clay, your spade can smooth and compact the sides of the hole. It creates these glazed, practically waterproof walls. So when a heavy rain comes, the hole doesn't drain. Nope, it just fills up with water like a bucket, and the plant's roots are left to just sit there and rot.
And what's really wild here is how this bucket hole fails in both extremes. In heavy rain, like we just said, the roots drown. But what about a drought? Well, those same hard, glazed walls become a prison. The roots just can't break through to find any moisture in the soil around them. They just circle and circle inside, eventually strangling the plant. It's a total lose-lose situation that basically forces you to play plant paramedic all the time. Okay, so how do we fix this? The solution starts with completely rethinking the architecture of the hole itself. We need to build a really strong foundation. And the source gives us this really simple 3-step action plan. First, dig the hole at least twice as wide as the pot. Second, and this is a big one, so listen up, dig it no deeper than the pot. The plant should set at the exact same level it was in at the nursery. And third, you take a garden fork and you just aggressively score and scratch up the sides and bottom of the hole. So why does this actually work? Well, it's all about this. Scoring the sides breaks up that waterproof glaze, which lets those delicate little root hairs escape. Making the hole wide gives the roots a kind of runway of loosened soil to spread out sideways. And this not only lets them find water and nutrients, but it also builds a much stronger and wider anchor to hold the plant steady when the winds pick up. All right, next up, let's look at how this all leads to way less work for you in the long run. We've got 2 simple hacks that can seriously cut your maintenance in half for the entire life of the plant. So win number 1 is the grit drainage hack. When you're putting the soil back in, just mix in a handful of horticultural grit. This creates thousands of tiny drainage channels, which stops the clay from recompacting and makes sure oxygen can always get to the roots. Win number 2 is the watering collar. Don't just flatten the soil on top. You build a little donut of earth right around the edge. This thing acts like a perfect funnel, directing every single drop of water right down to the root ball, exactly where it's needed most. Okay, now that we've got the technique down, let's talk about a few plants that are just specialists at thriving in tough conditions. These guys are the perfect candidates for your new right hole method. And this slide just illustrates so brilliantly how picking the right plant can really amplify this technique. You take the rugosa rose. It has these incredibly aggressive roots that will use those scored walls you made as a launching point to just punch right through heavy clay. Then you've got the English oak. Giving it that extra width allows its deep taproot to establish an incredibly stable anchor, making it totally unshakable in storms. And Russian sage, well, it'll use that wide runway of loosened soil to quickly establish its woody roots, making it a champion of those dry, hot, scorched zones in the garden where nothing else ever seems to survive. So why does all this extra effort in the first 10 minutes matter so much? Well, because this isn't just a planting technique. It's a completely different philosophy of gardening. This quote from our source, Graeme Farrer, just sums it up perfectly. You're investing more effort into the foundation, the hole, than you are into the plant itself, because a strong foundation is what absolutely guarantees success. And here it is, the payoff. That small, upfront investment of time, we're talking just 10 extra minutes to widen the hole and scratch the sides, buys you a decade of resilience.
You get a plant that can find its own water in a drought, that won't drown in a flood, and that can anchor itself against a storm.
You know, this fundamentally changes your role in the garden. You get to stop being a plant nurse, constantly running around treating symptoms like wilting or yellowing leaves. Instead, you become a system curator. Your job is to build a robust, self-sustaining ecosystem where the plants are actually equipped to take care of themselves.
So look, if you take just one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be these 3 actions. The next time you're planting something, just remember, dig twice the width, not the depth, scratch up the sides with a fork, and build that little watering collar on top. If you do that, trust me, your plants are going to do the rest.
And that's really the final thought we want to leave you with. This simple shift in how you dig a hole, it isn't just about saving plants. It's about changing your entire approach to gardening, moving from constant intervention to intelligent design. So which one is it going to be?